Hello, Deanna here, and thanks so much for being here. So today's video is a book review, and the book I'm reviewing is City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. So I've really been into Victoria Schwab lately, so I thought I would pick up this book as well. And I'm going to go ahead and read out the summary that I wrote for this book. Cassandra, Cass, Blake's best friend is Jacob. Cass and Jacob are practically inseparable. Jacob saved Cass from a horrible fate with a bridge and a lake, and ever since then he's out to protect her in whatever way he can. The thing is, no one else can see Jacob, only Cass can. That's because he's a ghost, and he helps her when she steps through the veil, the spot of in-between between the living and the non-living. Ghosts roam within the veil, and over Cass is called to it. Her parents dabble in the supernatural as well, and before Cass knows, she is whisked away to Edinburgh, Scotland, with her parents to film a new TV show. Cass finds herself right in the middle of the City of Ghosts, where ghosts haunt every corner. The calling to the veil is stronger than ever, and she meets a girl who steps between the living and the dead. The ghosts here are far more dangerous than Cass has ever encountered, and soon Cass finds herself in danger. Can Jacob still continue to protect her when the veil surrounds him at every turn? Or is the veil too strong here? So, as I was saying, this has definitely been yet another venture of mine into the world of Victoria Schwab, otherwise known as V.E. Schwab as well. This is the third book that I have read of Victoria Schwab's, technically fourth book, because I have read The Near Witch and The Dark Vault, and The Dark Vault has both the archived and the unbound in it. So this is book number 4, though this is the first middle grade story that I have read of hers. So usually Victoria will publish her stories under V.E. Schwab when they're more adult themed, and when it's her Victoria Schwab, it's her middle grade books. So just something to note for Victoria, and this is a middle grade book. Hello, Deanna here. So just doing some editing, so I thought I'd pop in. So I had mentioned that this was the first middle grade, but essentially her Dark Vault series, the archived and the unbound, were also published under the name Victoria instead of V.E. Schwab. So this is actually the third one that I've read from her Victoria Schwab pen name, and then the Dark Witch was just under V.E. Schwab. So I just wanted to come in and kind of make that correction, though this is the first actual like middle grade actual book that I'm reading of hers. It is the third one that is under the Victoria Schwab umbrella that she has. Okay, well, that was it. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you so much. This adventure was really fun, so I will admit that it did spook the heck out of me a bit. I mean, it is a story about ghosts, and it is about a girl that can kind of travel between like this veil where she stands in like the world of here and now and present, but then she also steps in and then she sees some like ghosts and kind of what's going on with them. And yeah, sometimes it was a little like woo spooky, and especially since I was reading this a lot at night, I was finding myself, and so it was just like ooh, little like ooh, chill down my back sometimes. Just like the spooky elements of those ghosts. It's really fun too because Victoria actually has Cass travel to Edinburgh. I apologize if I'm saying that at all wrong. Usually I would have said it Edinburgh, but apparently that is incorrect and not the proper way to say it, and I believe it's Edinburgh based on what you read in here. She even gives like a little pronunciation of how to say it. Yeah, it says the city, which it turns out is pronounced Edinburgh and not Edinburgh, like some people will say it. So she literally puts the proper pronunciation like right in the book for anyone to see, because I would have been someone that would have said it Edinburgh instead of Edinburgh. So it's Edinburgh. Edinburgh. I also love too that she leaves like a little map at the front here, and we've got like the little map of Edinburgh and all the different places that Cass travels throughout this story. So that was cool too. And I love that like there's so much history woven throughout this book. Like it's such a rich history of Edinburgh, but it's not like over detailed or like shoved at us too much either. Like it's not too much of it going on. I'm not reading like huge big passages about it, but it's like sprinkled throughout and just like so effortlessly put throughout this book that it was really well done. And I think Victoria, having actually like experienced living there, really helps make this book so authentic and makes it feel something that like you literally feel like you're stepping through those streets in Scotland. Now, our characters in this book, our two main characters are Cass, our main protagonist, who we are following throughout her journey of being able to see ghosts and travel to this vale. But then we also have her best friend, Jacob. And Jacob is a ghost that saved Cass. And that kind of propelled Cass to have some of these abilities, because ever since he saved her, she now sees ghosts and goes into the in-between. But we don't really know why too much of what's going on, because Cass doesn't really know why. She just knows it happens and that's just part of her life now. And she knows now she has Jacob, who hangs around and is her best friend and who helps her a lot of the time. So I really did love the dynamic between Cass and Jacob. They are such cute little friends together, and he's very protective over her and she helps him a lot too. Like they're there for each other, keeping an eye on each other, protecting each other. And it felt real too. Like it felt like a pretty real relationship, because it wasn't just always smooth sailings. It wasn't just like they're totally in sync and everything's fantastic. There were some up and downs, there were some disagreements and some things where they butt heads over, and so that just gave a bit of dimension to their relationship. And it was really nice too, because even when they are butting heads or frustrated with each other or whatever has gone on, they still come through for each other like best friends do. And so that was really sweet that is throughout this story of just such a nice boy and girl, male and female, best friendship. And you know, like there's no romance or anything going on, because not only is it because it's a middle grade book, and middle grade books don't really have too much romance usually, but just because you can feel that it's just a real good friendship and that they just care about each other. And they're more like brother and sister in a lot of ways. Sometimes, I think the only thing sometimes was like, oh yeah, Jacob's just gonna come through and like, he's there at like the most convenient of times. But he's also a ghost, so why wouldn't he pop in and out when it is the convenient times? Like it just plays more to who Jacob is and his abilities as a ghost. I really enjoyed the writing and the pacing of this book as well. Like it's a middle grade book, so it's pretty like easy. Like my version here has pretty big like words on the page. Like it's a pretty short little book, nice, easy to digest book. So I was able to like zip through this really quick. I will say that I was reading it, and as you can see my little bookmark here, I got to about here, which is chapter 10, and then I did put it aside for a bit, just because I think I was just not really in the mood for ghosts at that time. I had already read 2 of her books about ghosts. I'd already read The Near Witch, and then I had read The Dark Vault, which had the Archived and the Unbound. So I already had read those and had like a lot of ghost stories that I had read, essentially, because Victoria really does seem to have a lot of ghosts going on in her books, at least the ones I've read so far. But so I was a little kind of burnt out on ghosts for a bit. So I kind of stepped back, read a couple other things, but then I had to come back and finish this story, because it's been sitting there in the back of my mind going like, it was fun, it was cute to see like Cass and Jacob's adventures and what's going on with Cass and Jacob and what are they doing. So I ended up coming back to this, and in one night, like I think it was like an hour or so, I read about this much, and then the next night I devoured like the rest and stayed up until midnight finishing it, because it was so good and I just wanted to know what happened to Cass and Jacob and what's happening in their story. So it was really fun to zip through this, and I had a delight reading this. I'm also really grateful that I picked up the second book in this series, because the second book, which is Tunnel of Bones, is going to continue this story, and because I've gone through this and finished this, I really just want to get right into that second book and kind of find out, because here they're in Scotland and then the second book they're traveling to France, so I really just want to know kind of what's going on and where the story goes. I'm kind of kicking myself for not already having the third book, because I know there is 3. I don't know if there's more than that. I think it's just the trilogy so far, perhaps, but I am kicking myself to not at least have the third, but at least I have the second, so I have something to look forward to and be sharing with you soon again. So this book was just a really fun and delightful read. Like, as you can tell from this review, I had a lot of fun reading this. It's evident, like, reading this, why Victoria Schwab is one of my more recent favorite authors that I've stumbled upon and that I've been enjoying. Though, like I said, a lot of her books seem to have ghosts woven throughout it, so she definitely has a theme of ghosts in a lot of her stories, but they're also fun. Like, they're exciting and they're interesting, and she does a great job writing. I did feel sometimes this book was very, very close to the archived book though. Like, I did feel almost like I was reading a bit of a younger version of that main protagonist, which is Mac. So that was kind of interesting, but this is definitely for a younger audience, and I did feel there were elements that were vastly different as well. So it's not like it was word for word picking up the same book in just a child version. Like, no, there's key elements that are different too, but it was just funny how, like, similar they were in a lot of ways as well. Also, I do find authors sometimes have like an author voice, like they have a very distinct voice where you pick a book and you read it and you kind of can tell that that's usually like a certain author. And I do feel that Victoria does have a very unique style that I think is evident between the different books that I've read so far of hers, where I can see that voice of Victoria coming through the pages. So if you enjoy the voice of Victoria Schwab or V.E. Schwab, then, and you haven't read this book, then I think you will enjoy this book. So I did rate this one 4 out of 5. I'm teetering towards more 5 out of 5. I think it's just because I felt like in some ways there's so many unanswered questions that I want to know more. Like, I want to know more about what's going on with Cass. I want to know more about what's going on with Jacob. Like, it left me with a lot of unanswered questions. So I'm really hoping as I continue the series that a lot of those questions will be answered, and potentially that will help not only resolve some of those unanswered questions, but maybe bump up my rating as well as I go through the book. So we will see. It's practically a 5 out of 5, though kind of more of a 4 out of 5, just because I'm just like, what about this? What about this? What about this? Some people might think that's a 5 out of 5 that leaves them feeling like that. For me, it's a 4.5 out of 5, I will say. Like, I really do enjoy this book. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you check out City of Ghosts. It's a fun read. If you have read it, I'd love to know your thoughts. Go ahead and leave them below, and let's have a discussion about City of Ghosts. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give it a like. I will go ahead and leave the link to my blog below, because why not? I wrote it out there, so if you want to read it, go ahead and take a look. I always appreciate it. And on that note, I hope that you are having a wonderful rest of your day, night, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thank you so much for being here. Take care of yourself, and you will see me next time. Bye!